This presentation will guide you through the steps of removing or replacing the tumbler on the Dexter stack dryer. Dexter Laundry recommends that all service and troubleshooting be done by a qualified service person. Live voltage is present inside of every Dexter machine. Extreme caution should be used if you decide to troubleshoot your equipment. Dexter Laundry always recommends that you disconnect power to your washer or dryer before attempting any service. Warning: failure to follow these instructions can result in death, fire, or electrical shock. The tools needed for this procedure are a dead blow hammer, a gear puller, a standard screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a socket wrench, a 3/4 inch socket, a 5/16 nut driver, a 3/16 Allen wrench, a T20 Torx driver, a 3-inch by 1/2 inch bolt and stack of washers, a 9/16 open-end wrench, wooden door shims, a 6101 Dexter service key, a 6324 Dexter service key, and Loctite thread lock. To start, the front panel must be removed to access the tumbler. Disconnect the power. Then, unlock the stack dryer control and slide it out. Disconnect the wiring harnesses from the control. Then, remove the control from the machine. Next, unlock and remove the lint screen from the machine. Remove the front panel of the machine starting with the Allen bolt securing the loading door. This will allow the loading door to be removed from the machine. After the Allen bolt is removed, pull the top of the door hinge out to clear the bracket, then lift the door to clear the door pin. With the loading door, control, and lint screen assembly removed, remove the 8 T20 Torx screws that secure the front panel assembly to the dryer cabinet. Once the screws are removed, you can now carefully remove the front panel assembly from the dryer cabinet. Then, disconnect the 2 wires from the door switch and the 2 coin switch wires. Set the front panel assembly to the side. Now, go to the rear of the machine and remove the 7 5/16 screws securing the rear drive guard cover to the dryer cabinet. After the screws are removed, remove the rear drive guard cover and set it to the side. Next, remove the belts from the dryer pulleys. To remove the belts, place a flat screwdriver under the belt at the edge of the pulley. Turn the pulley, keeping the flat screwdriver under the belt as it continues on to the pulley. Apply pressure to the screwdriver to pry the belt away from the pulley as it is being turned. The belt will slide off the pulley. The next step is to remove the pulley from the tumbler shaft. Using a 3/4 inch wrench or socket, remove the retaining bolt from the pulley. Now, remove the pulley. This will require the use of a 3-jaw puller. Be sure to reuse the tumbler shaft bolt to protect the shaft threads. After the gear puller is attached to the pulley, turn the center bolt of the gear puller and continue turning until the pulley slides off the shaft. Remove the pulley from the tumbler shaft. Do not reuse the tolerance ring that is located inside of the pulley. Replace it with a new one. Next, remove the spacer tube from the tumbler shaft. To remove the tumbler from the dryer cabinet, use a dead blow hammer to drive the tumbler shaft out of the seated position in the bearing housing. Next, go to the front of the dryer and pull the tumbler out of the dryer cabinet. This will usually require 2 people. To replace a broken trunnion assembly, start by marking the existing trunnion position and shim quantities. Then, remove the 9/16 nuts that secure the trunnion to the drying tumbler. Install the new trunnion assembly and replace the spacer shims. Replace the 9/16 nuts to secure the trunnion to the tumbler. Be sure to use the Loctite thread lock to prevent loosening. Torque these nuts to 15 foot-pounds of torque. The following steps will guide you through the reinstallation of the tumbler assembly into the dryer cabinet. The first step of reinstallation is to slide the tumbler assembly back into the dryer pocket of the dryer cabinet. Next, align the tumbler shaft with the bearing housing and push the tumbler into place. After the tumbler is installed to the dryer pocket, go to the rear of the machine. Install the spacer tube onto the tumbler shaft. Next, slide the pulley and tolerance ring onto the tumbler shaft. Place a 3" by 1/2" standard thread bolt through a stack of washers and screw it into the threaded hole of the tumbler shaft. As you tighten the bolt, it will pull the tumbler into the seated position of the bearing housing. Once the tumbler is seated into position, remove the 3" bolt and washers. Replace the original bolt, lock washer, and washer into the threaded hole of the shaft and tighten to secure the pulley. The following steps will be used if the bearing housing was removed or replaced. These steps will realign the tumbler inside the cabinet. The first step of tumbler realignment is to make sure that all of the bearing housing bolts are loose. Using wooden shims, shim the tumbler at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions, so that the tumbler has clearance on all sides of the dryer cabinet. The 2 bolts at the top of the bearing housing going into the back of the machine, and the 2 nuts at the bottom of the bearing housing are used to raise and lower the front of the dryer tumbler. With the tumbler shimmed, go to the rear of the machine and tighten all of the bearing housing bolts. After the bearing housing bolts are tight, go to the front of the machine and remove the wooden shims. Spin the tumbler to ensure that there is clearance all the way around the dryer cabinet. If the tumbler rubs anywhere on the cabinet, repeat the shimming process until clearance is attained. Move to the rear of the dryer and install the drive pulley using the new tolerance ring and the shaft bolt. Reinstall the 2 drive belts onto the dryer pulleys. Install the belt from the motor to the intermediate pulley first, followed by the tumbler drive belt. Reinstall the rear drive guard cover and secure it using the 7 5/16 screws. The next step is to reinstall the front panel to the dryer cabinet. Reconnect the 2 door switch wires and the 2 coin switch wires. Then, install the front panel to the dryer cabinet. Using the 8 T20 Torx screws, secure the front panel to the cabinet. Reinstall the hinge and front loading door to the dryer cabinet. Reinstall the lint screen assembly and stack dryer control. The dryer is now ready for use.